Test one, two, test one, two. Okay, and we are back and we are live and direct. Good evening, everyone. Good evening or good morning, wherever you may be in the world. Mike B is back, and it's been a while, and I've missed you. I've been out of commission. When I say out of commission, I've just been working my full time gig, and I have had a difficult time with just bringing everything back in and getting into my groove for 2026. I started off hot, and I quickly chilled. So I'm trying to get back into my groove. I'm really trying to get back into doing the live broadcasting, the podcasting, and I'm back. So I apologize for being gone for so long because there's so much going on. As a matter of fact, I was a bit overwhelmed with so much that has been going on, and I just found it hard to bring everything together to do a show. And again, podcasters that do these shows full time, they dedicate so many hours 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 hours a day just compiling content, material, research to to put their shows together, to create a polished product to put it out to the online audience. Myself might be, I have a slightly different approach. I like to do live shows. I like to do, um, you know, fairly well researched shows, topics that I know something about. I like to be live. So therefore, my shows are not as polished as I really want them to be, and we'll have it that way for now. But I do plan on, um, just really sticking with it in 2026. It's a high for me. I love podcasting. I love not only just podcasting, I love anything technology related, audiovisual related, video related, filmmaking related. That is my area of expertise, and I get a high from all aspects of that. And it's a clean high, and I just like to create and expand my mental capacities to create different things that are somewhat different than everyone else. So I do consider myself somewhat of a trendsetter. I want to be a trendsetter, even if I'm not. I want to be an innovator, even if I'm not. So I do like innovating. I like doing things different, which is why I introduced the AI component of Swancentric Talks Live with AI Victoria. So speaking about that, Victoria speak. Victoria, you there? Victoria may not want to speak right now. I've been talking to her a little bit about giving her cues to speak and things like that. So I may have to check back with Victoria. But hopefully, if you're out there listening, Victoria, you can give us a shout out very soon. Let's switch over. So I do. I am glad to be back, and there's just so much going on in the world. And I did a little bit of research and I found some hot topics I want to talk about. And then I want to close out the show when we do close out about some, I want to, share a couple of my own life stories and apply that to some recent events that have occurred that I really think should be discussed and should be thought about. So we'll call it the just think about it episode at the end. But right now, um, I came across an article a day ago about, believe it or not, another deadly virus that's out there called the Nipah virus. It's out of India. And they're saying that this virus is a lot worse than that of COVID, though it is not easily transmissible like COVID, but it can be transmitted from human to human with extreme close contact. COVID itself was airborne. You could pick it up quite easily in many different environments. However, the downside to this is the fatality rate of this virus is somewhere between, I believe they're saying 40 to 75%, which is high. That's scary just in itself. And according to the latest information that's out there, the Indian government seems to have um, contained this virus. It appeared to have been a animal hosted virus, either via bats or pigs, and somehow that crossed over into the humans, either by consumption or some other form of close contact. But there is the key thing to take away from this is there's no antidote or inoculation from this particular virus. Let's take a look and see what's in the media, what the news media has to say about that. Let's cut over to that really quick. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, okay. I am not picking up audio. Stand by. I need to pause this for a second. I need to. Okay, I need to pause this for a second. I don't believe my audio. I have a different setup. Let me see if I can do something with the audio on this. Stand by. I'll be right back with you. Let me figure this out really quick. Test one, two. Test one, two. Okay, I think I got that worked out. I apologize. That's these impromptu shows. There are so many moving parts to these shows. It's hard to figure things out sometimes because my shows, I put them together within about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I don't check on everything, but I think I have that resolved. Let's go ahead and see if I can give a shout out to Victoria. Victoria, are you there? Can you give a shout out? Okay, let's take a look here so I can get my video working here. I apologize with this. I'm gonna back and queue up the Nipah virus segment. We'll skip over Victoria. Let's get that going really quick here. I This is
Time. Really
this is
appreciate
kind
it.
of
What exactly?
embarrassing.
Got to talk about.
All right, I think I got it worked out, and I'm not being able to have a monitor To monitor myself is always problematic, but let's do it.
This quarantines, testing, contact tracing, airport screenings. Does all this sound very familiar? Unfortunately, don't worry. It is not 2020 again. It's not COVID. But this is serious. There is a different virus outbreak in India that is triggering all of those familiar precautions in parts of Asia right now. It is called the Nipah virus, okay? And it's often deadly, has a fatality rate of 40 to 75%. There are only 2 cases of the virus in India so far, but it has prompted airports in Thailand, Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia to step up their screenings to prevent a bigger outbreak. And the virus is carried by bats and pigs, but it can be spread human-human contact. But how easy is it to be transmitted? What's the incubation period? How worried should we be? I'm joined right now by an infectious disease epidemiologist at the Hartford Belfer Center, Dr. Saira Madad. Thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. What exactly is the Nipah virus?
Well, the Nipah virus is a serious virus, and as you've mentioned, it does have a high case fatality rate, anywhere from 40 to 70%, and that also depends on where you're getting healthcare services. So if you're in a country that has good a healthcare delivery system, you could probably get much better care, and that case fatality rate is likely much lower. Now, with that said, as I mentioned, it is a serious virus. It has no approved vaccines or therapeutics. Okay. But in this context, it is a small and contained outbreak, and it is closely being monitored. And so when we look at these 2 cases that have been confirmed in India, in West Bengal, about 200 contacts have been identified, tested, and are negative. And at this time, no additional cases have been detected, as well as there's no evidence of spread outside of India. While you've noted, a couple of countries have started to implement enhanced airport screening, that's more of a sign of a precautionary step than to signal a wider spread of transmission. So this is just precautionary.
My concern is whether or not that would actually work. I read that it has a 2-week incubation period. Sometimes symptoms might not even show. This can be spread human-human contact, but it's different than COVID, right?
It's very different than COVID. So when we talk about COVID-19, we think of, airborne spread. And with Nipah virus, it is not like that. It doesn't spread through kind of the airborne route. There are 3 ways of transmission. And so when we talk about the 3 ways of transmission, one is from animals to humans. That is what oftentimes, starts. That is what starts the outbreak. And so coming in contact with an infected animal, such as a bat, or through the foodborne route, meaning that the infected animal has contaminated food products like fruit or even a date palm sap, and then the human consumes that and then gets infected. And then the 3rd way is human-to-human transmission. And through human-to-human transmission, that is close, prolonged contact. So oftentimes we see that in household settings or in healthcare settings where infection prevention and control is not as great.
So in other words, and correct me if I'm wrong, it could be transmitted maybe like the norovirus. So it's not, you have to have prolonged contact with somebody. Is it somebody who's showing symptoms? Because again, the question is going to be, what do people do to prevent this? What are ways that they should avoid it?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. And what's important is because it doesn't spread, as easily through the airborne route like measles and COVID, it is more difficult to get it. But it obviously, you can still get infected if you're in close contact with, any infected animal sources, bodily fluid that's infected, or infected food sources. So with that, prevention really is to avoid these contaminated sources. When we talk about the incubation period, it is anywhere from 4 to 14 days. So when somebody is symptomatic and you see them visibly sick, it's the basic precautions. If you see somebody that is sick, you want to make sure you're keeping a distance from them. And especially if you're in that local area where this outbreak is happening, you want to be even extra cautious. But in other countries, for example, regional spread, it's still very low. And, you're seeing these airports, these countries doing enhanced airport monitoring as a precaution. But
so you may see that if you're traveling
internationally, for example, to the United States, that threat is quite low, but it's always good to be prepared.
And by the way,
I'm going to cut it there. So good information. I did not want to cut it super soon because she was putting out a tremendous amount of helpful information. So please stay vigilant. I'm not saying go back to wearing masks and N95s and all that, but this may be something that the government, the Indian government, can get under control, can suppress before there's some type of widespread outbreak. So again, the key is to stay vigilant, keep yourself safe, and hopefully this will blow over fairly soon. But I felt that was super important to play the video as long as I did. There was still about 2 minutes more left on there, but I think we got the gist of what's going on with that. So that's the Nipah virus. With that being said, and continuing on with this part two segment of reading the global terrain, there was a last week or 2 weeks ago, and there's an agency out there that keeps tabs of global conflict, global situations, and they actually monitor what is known as the doomsday clock. This doomsday clock was a metaphorical clock. It's not an actual clock; it's metaphorical. That was a clock that was established in 1947 after the deployment of the first nuclear bomb. It was established between the U.S. and Russia as a warning, as a symbolic warning to the public of how close we are to destroying civilization through technology. And over the years, 1947 to over 70 years, almost 80 years, this metaphorical clock has been around. And again, this was established after um, the usage of the first atomic bomb. So basically, it's a metaphorical clock that says the closer it gets to midnight, midnight is so if it's 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 60 seconds to midnight. If it hits midnight, it's pretty much a global um, extermination of the human race. So this has been going on for decades, as we know. And just last week, there was an adjustment to the atomic clock, and I believe they made an adjustment to 85 seconds to midnight, which puts us pretty close to the midnight timeline. Let's take a look at what the article says about that.
Every second counts, and we are running out of time. It is a hard truth, but this is our reality. It is now 85 seconds to midnight.
The Bulletin of the Atomic Scientist says the world has never been closer to midnight on the Doomsday Clock. But what is the Doomsday Clock, and what does midnight mean?
3, 2, 1, 0.
Since 1947, the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientist has been using a clock to symbolize the potential of people doing something to end humanity, with midnight symbolizing total catastrophe. At the end of the Cold War, the Doomsday Clock was as close as 17 minutes to midnight. But in recent years, due to rapid global changes, the group has gone from counting down the minutes until midnight to counting the seconds. This year, the group moved the clock from 89 seconds to 85 seconds to midnight, citing the threat of escalating conflicts involving nuclear-armed countries, the increasing use of artificial intelligence without adequate controls, as well as natural disasters linked to global warming and the failure of nations to adopt meaningful agreements to fight it. It singled out US President Donald Trump's efforts to boost fossil fuels and hobble renewable energy, and whether Iran is capable of developing nuclear weapons. But the group has said there is good news. We are capable of turning back the clock,
That's
but
good news.
only if nations work together.
There we go. We are capable of changing, reversing course, and it's all dependent on cooperation, country to country, leader to leader, politician to politician, civilian to civilian, mankind to mankind, cooperation, love, and care for one another. We can turn this around. Interesting enough, and on the topic of doom, about 3 weeks ago, something interesting happened in Los Angeles. For the first time in 51 years, the quote unquote doomsday plane that the president uses in the event of nuclear war was seen actually landing at LAX for 51 years. This is a rare sighting. This plane never takes off unless there's something, I guess, conspiracy theorists speculated that something may be going on. Who knows? But this was a very rare sighting. It was in the news. Let me play the clip. This is the Doomsday plane, which is nothing more than a modified Boeing. They call it an E-4B night watch plane. So it's not Air Force One. Basically, if Air Force One is the White House on wings, this plane is the Pentagon on wings. Let's take a look at it. And by the way, this is what the plane looks like. You can see it's a little bit different than Air Force One. And again, this is a snapshot that it makes a rare appearance in the LAX, lands at the LAX after 51 years. Let's see what the news had to say about it.
Wow.
This is the plane landing at LAX about 3 weeks ago. And I won't play the whole clip, but the news anchor says something interesting, and I'll cut it off there. I am sick. Innocent. That's the Doomsday plane landing at LAX. I think there are 3 to 4 of these planes. And we'll cut it off here in just a second.
Is this history being made here at LAX?
Okay, I'm gonna cut it off there. He says, "Is this history being made at LAX?" Again, after 51 years, history being made at LAX. This is the Doomsday plane landing. So I wanted to point that out, that there's a whole lot of everything going on in 2026. Oh yes, we are reading the global terrain, and I have so much more to report on. I just don't have time. But we're just skimming the top of things that are happening. With that being said, regarding skimming the top, please be very careful if you're traveling within the U.S. Or even internationally, and landing at any of the areas towards the northeast region of the United States. About 2/3 of the U.S. will be under some type of winter watch. And I saw an article today regarding a severe storm headed towards the East Coast. They're calling it a nor'easter. Basically, it's just a cold storm that will be bringing hurricane level winds. It's very serious. So if you're traveling, if you're on the East Coast, if you're traveling from California to the East Coast, traveling from the East Coast to California, traveling from the East Coast to points in Europe, you're probably going to experience significant flight delays if you're traveling. And if you're a homeowner, make sure that you have all your provisions to hunker down for a day or so until this passes over. Let's take a look and see what the media has to say about it. It's a really quick clip.
A bomb cyclone is going to bring some of the biggest snow in years to parts of the East Coast this weekend, along with hurricane force winds. Here's what you need to prepare. A rapidly intensifying storm system could drop several years worth of snow on parts of the Carolinas and Southern Virginia, starting on Saturday and ending Sunday afternoon. But it looks like the major Northeast metros could escape the heaviest snow from this system. This storm will be similar in strength to a hurricane, and the winds will feel like it, gusting in some spots 75 miles per hour or greater. That will produce waves up to 20 feet. And combine that with the highest tides of the year, thanks to Sunday's full moon, and the result will be destructive coastal flooding that could completely rearrange the coastline for years to come.
Wow, that's a serious storm. So again, stay vigilant, stay safe. Try not to travel to the East Coast, and if you can prevent it, and just please stay safe with that. Um, we're just reading the global headlines regarding that. There are several other topics that are happening throughout the country, throughout the world. We know we have the immigration issue with ICE, immigration customs and enforcement. I'm not going to talk about that. I've talked about it before. I've mentioned that there's nothing wrong with peaceful protesting, but ICE agents are just regular people like you and me. They're just doing a job to earn a paycheck so they can pay their rent, their mortgage, put their kids through college. They're just regular other people. So protesting and trying to harm one another because you think that the person on the ground is calling the shots, they're not calling the shots. So if you have a problem, you should be uh, communicating with your representatives and your lawmakers, not the people on the ground. So I'm not going to say too much more about that. I'm not going to report on it. There was a couple of situations that happened early this week. There were also massive protesting that happened today in Los Angeles. There was some type of movement in which there was a bit of boycotting done to stay home from work, stay home from school, stay home from shopping, etc. However that goes down, that goes down. But again, I have no. My only opinion is, um, those who work for the government because they're trying to earn a living like anyone else. And the lawmakers are the ones who actually make the laws, not the agents on the ground. So please respect one another and protest peacefully. Um, the other thing is the government shutdown. I don't know too much about that. I think they may have worked out some type of deal, but there may be some type of partial shutdown happening actually this weekend, if not midnight tonight, if it's not already in effect. I don't know what they did with it. I don't. There's a lot of back and forth, so there may or may not, but I don't think it will be as severe as the last shutdown. So just little things there here and there. So this segment that I want to transition into is what I'm calling a just think about it segment. I saw two interesting stories that in the media, and I can relate to these stories because at some point in my life I've been involved, in something similar to that, similar to it, not the actual situation, but something similar to it. And I was able to get out of these situations by just simply thinking. Sometimes you have to stop and think about the possible outcomes of a situation as to not get yourself into a deeper situation and fall into a situation that becomes horrific, traumatic, and life changing, that results in loss of life, etc. Sometimes you just have to pause and think about it. There was a story of a young lady named Ashley Long out of Dallas, a young lady who had a promising career as a real estate agent, and she went out on the town with her boyfriend or significant other, and something happened that really should not have happened. And then I want to talk about it after we play the clip, okay? So that I can tie in this whole concept of just think about it, okay? So let's young lady end up losing her life. She lost her life. And I just think that if someone would have just paused and thought about it, this never would have happened. This is just one story. Let's play the clip.
Well, the family of a Houston area real estate agent murdered in downtown Dallas is speaking for the first time. They want her to be remembered as a career-oriented real estate agent who had big dreams and also a glowing spirit and loving friend and daughter. Fox's Peyton Yeager has more.
On a sunny Wednesday in downtown Dallas, stickers of 28-year-old Ashley Long are left along Main Street.
Her angel number was 444.
But on April 5th, it was a rainy night.
Listen very careful.
I'm still like in a fog. I just feel like I'm in a daze every day.
Ashley Long's family speaking for the first time since their daughter was murdered during a night out in Dallas. Long, a realtor visiting from the Richmond-Rosenberg area southwest of Houston. She and a group of friends left a downtown Dallas bar just after 2 a.m. According to an arrest warrant affidavit, surveillance video captured the shooting off Main Street. Police say a man Ashley was with reached out and brushed his hand along the passenger side of a passing Mercedes. The passenger of that car, later identified by detectives as 34-year-old Kendrick Finch, exited the Mercedes with a gun in his hand. The affidavit states a man with Ashley reached into her purse and pulled out his gun. That's when police say Finch opened fire, striking both Ashley and the man she was with. That man was able to fire back. Finch then took off. Ashley later died at the hospital. The man who she was with was also shot. He survived. Ashley's family left shocked when police revealed the details leading up to the shooting. There, also,
so I can break down this scenario. Let me break this down, because I'm going to show you the actual footage of what happened. A couple is out, young couple. They're out on the town, and you know, they probably had a you know, good time, maybe a couple cocktails, feeling good. And it's 2 a.m. The bars are closing. They're on their way home, so they're crossing the street. A car, which was a Mercedes, probably a really nice car, comes along, and the guy, the guy who Ashley was with, probably said, "Hey, that's a sweet car," and he just brushed up against the car like this. I'm gonna show you the video. No harm, no foul. He didn't punch the car. He didn't kick the car. He didn't do any of that. He just brushed up against the car. So no harm, no foul, right? The car stops. The passenger gets out with a weapon. The guy that Ashley is with sees this. This is Texas, a right to carry state. The guy gets out of the car and probably said, "Hey, what's up? What are you doing?" Probably thought, you know, of course, these people, it's 2:00 in the morning. They're probably high, doing whatever. And he's probably saying, "No, why are you touching my car?" The gentleman, the guy that Ashley was with, he probably saw the weapon, said, "Okay, I got my thing on me too. Let me pull my thing out." As soon as he pulls his thing out, the guy from the car just opens up on both of them. Kills the young lady, hits the guy, and they pull off. Okay, so that's what we have to work with, okay? Let's watch the footage. And then I'm going to give you what should have happened. Let's watch the footage.
The man charged for killing a Houston area real estate agent in downtown Dallas last month was in court today, hoping to get his $500,000 bond reduced.
Fox 4's Alex Boyer was in court today and has more on the judge's decision and joins us live. Alex.
Hey guys, I sat in on that hearing and it lasted nearly 2 hours. You know, the defense was trying to get that $500,000 bond reduced, calling it excessive for a non-capital murder case. After hearing all of the evidence, the judge ultimately upheld it. Surveillance video played inside a Dallas County courtroom Wednesday shows how a deadly shootout on the streets of downtown
This is
Dallas
Sprayler's video.
unfolded back on April 5th. It was presented by the prosecution as part of a bond reduction hearing for murder
The guy was
suspect
arrested, of course.
34-year-old Kendrick Finch.
He was the first one to step out with a gun.
That's prosecutor Jason Hermes referring to Finch. In the video, you see
Okay, here's the
28-year-old
video.
Ashley Long and her friend 36-year-old William Kistler walking on Main Street as a Mercedes drives by. Kistler
Here we go.
brushes
He
the
brushes
car
the
with
car
his hand.
right there.
The
There's it right
Mercedes
there.
stops. Almost immediately,
The guy
Kistler
gets
can be
out.
seen trying to retrieve a handgun out of Long's
The
purse
guy,
when
the guy
Finch
she's
steps
with
out of the
goes
car
for
with
his
a gun
gun.
in his hand.
This guy
The
has his
homicide
gun,
detective was
and he
the
just
state's
opens
only
up.
witness.
I can tell you Mr. Finch's gun was pointed in
So you
Mr.
can see
Kistler
exactly
and Miss
what
Long's
happens. He gets
direction,
out. The
and
guy
she had
who
started
she's
to
with,
fall
he goes
prior
into
to
his purse,
what appears
her
to be
purse,
Mr. Kistler
and
directing
gets
his
their
gun
gun.
to Mr. Finch. So to go out on an
And
assumption, I
then
would assume that Mr. Finch
he
fired
sees that
first.
The
happening.
defense
The
asked for the
assailant
hearing,
sees that
trying to
happening.
get
He just
Finch's
decides
$500,000
to
bond
shoot both of them.
reduced. Josh
I'm going
Healy
to cut it
claims
right
the
there.
video shows Finch.
All right. So here's what I do not like about this situation, because it was senseless. It did not have to happen that way. Let's just say this guy, who she was with, rubbed up against, rubbed up against his car or swiped it. No, didn't damage the car, and the guy got out. All this guy had to say was, "Hey, I am so sorry, man. I apologize. That's a really nice car. It's a beautiful vehicle. I apologize. No harm, no foul, no problem. I apologize. You have a beautiful car, and I just want to just let you know that." And it would have been a done deal. The guy would not have come. The guy probably, I don't know. I'm speculating that he would have had no reason to shoot them unless he saw the other guy grabbing his gun. So you see where all this is going wrong? The guy that Ashley is with goes for his gun. The assailant has his gun. And of course, there's a shootout. All this, I believe, again, I'm just speculating how I would have handled this. I would have said, "Hey, man," especially if it's 2:00 in the morning and he's coming out the car with his gun. I'd have been like, "Hey, hands up. I apologize, man. That's a beautiful car. I just want to let you know it was a nice car. I apologize for touching it. No harm, no foul. I apologize." And it would have been a done deal. I don't know if it would have been a done deal, but I believe in my heart that it's a high probability that it would have been a done deal, because I've been in situations like that before. I had a situation that occurred just a week ago at my job, which someone confronted one of our officers, and he was this close from his face. He was calling him all kinds of names, and he was about to swing on him. I felt that, and I happened to be in the area, and I saw that he was about to swing on him, or because he was that close to his face, threatening him to swing on him. And I just grabbed, I came up to the officer. "Hey," I said, "this is not worth it. Come on, let's just walk away from this. It's not worth it." Because if he had stayed there, he probably would have gotten hit, hurt, or even worse. So sometimes it's best to just walk away from these situations. It's not worth it to get confrontational. In that video, it seems like that situation escalated into a confrontation super quick when it could have been de-escalated. That is my opinion. Okay. Based on my experience. What an unfortunate situation. And we can't bring the young lady back, but the message that I have is young adults. Sometimes the adrenaline, our hormones, and things like that are just going crazy, and we feel like we can take on the world and that we are superhuman. There's been so many times in my life when I was I'm in my 50s now, but when I was in my late teens and early 20s, I thought the same way. I've been in situations where, um, I was literally in the shadow of death, and I had to think my way out of the situation. I had to pause. And just think how bad this situation can go, and do I want to go through this and potentially get myself killed, or think my way out of the situation and live another day and learn from that 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 situation. And I think that's what a lot of young people nowadays just need to do. Just pause, think about the outcome, and then choose a different direction. But I have to do this other segment, okay? Because I myself have been in this exact situation, okay? And this is a tragic situation. So I don't know how old this is, maybe a couple of weeks. Uh, the beginning of January, this situation happened. There was a couple, and I actually forget the location they were in, but the it was a couple that was driving through a neighborhood, and they saw the police maybe a few blocks behind them, and the driver of the vehicle said, "Well, um, I've got expired tags and a headlight that's out. I'm going to pull off the road. I'm going to pull into a property so the cop passes me and won't pull me over." I've done that about a gazillion times in my life. I'm not gonna even lie about it. To try to avoid getting a ticket. For many years, I drove around with expired license tags because coming up young, I didn't have the money to even pay for my registration, so I know firsthand. Or I didn't have auto insurance, and all. I have it all. I have all that now, by the way. Because you know, uh, uh, I know better. But when I was 17, 18, fun fact, I actually bought my first car, and I didn't even have a driver's license. Imagine if, and I actually got pulled over, and the cop let me go. Yeah. I was pulled over on New Year's Eve one time after I had been out partying, and the officer pulled me over and said, "Hey, I smell the alcohol on your breath." And This was back in the 90s, and during this time I was in the military, and the cop said, "I'm going to follow you for a couple of miles, and if you don't drive this car straight, I'm going to take you to jail. But if you can drive straight," this was on New Year's Eve. This is unheard of now. The cop let me go because I was able to drive, even though he smelled the alcohol. That will not happen. So I've been in these situations um, myself. So I'm going to play this clip. We're going to go overtime tonight. I'm going to play this clip because I think it's important, and I want to tell you exactly how this situation, in my opinion, should have gone.
That homeowner, Tommy Applewhite, was taken into custody and faces several
Okay,
charges,
let me back
including
this up. I'm going to back it up. Let me back it up. Here we
Husband
go.
fatally shot after pulling into a homeowner's driveway. Let's go to Memphis here.
Memphis.
Sheila Booker, she's on the left there, says homeowner Tommy Applewhite fatally shot her husband moments after the couple pulled into a stranger's driveway in an attempt to evade a traffic ticket. Booker recalled the tragic moments when her husband, Rodriguez Poplar, was shot right in front of her. She said she and Poplar were driving through a residential neighborhood. That was January 9. Poplar spotted some blue police headlights ahead of them. Booker said her husband told her to pull into a driveway and wait because their car had expired tags and a broken headlight. Didn't want any trouble. As soon as she parked in the driveway, the homeowner came out of his house armed and demanded that they leave his property, Booker claims. So he pulled the gun in my face, and that's when my husband got out, trying to protect me. And that's when he shot my husband right in front of me, Booker told WHBQ. Because the police were nearby, they arrived at the scene in less than a minute. The police came so fast, Booker said. If it weren't for them, I think I'd be dead. They saved my life.
Okay, so I'm going to cut it there. so let's rewind this scenario, okay? As I mentioned earlier, it's a couple. They're driving. They knew that the police was behind them. So they made the decision to pull off the road, not on a public road, but onto private property, which was not indicated in this news clip. They pulled onto private property, a person's driveway, to evade the police. Now, the police did not light them up, but this was a proactive measure to prevent getting pulled over because of the expired tags. So, again, I've done it myself a gazillion times. I don't do it anymore. I know better. To prevent getting pulled over for a violation. So I'm going to pull into another person's property. The property owner comes out with a weapon because, of course, the property owner has there's a whole piece on him. He's arrested. There's a whole segment on him, but let's just stick with what led up to the person getting shot. They pulled into the driveway. The property owner comes out with a weapon and says, "Leave." Pause. If I pull into someone's driveway on private property and they ask me to leave, I have to leave. Otherwise, the property owner exercises what they call proprietary jurisdiction, which means that they are the law of their land. So if someone pulls into their driveway and they refuse to leave, they can use whatever force necessary to get that person to leave, especially if they feel that their life is threatened. Let's finish with this. The person pulls into the driveway. He says, "I need you to leave." The driver of the vehicle, somehow, there must have been a verbal confrontation. He gets out of his vehicle. They said that he gets out of his vehicle to protect the wife. What does getting out of the vehicle to protect the wife do to what type of protection is that? In my opinion, the protection would have been, okay, homeowner, okay, I'm sorry, my bad. I'm on the wrong property. I'm going to leave straight away, especially if you come out with a weapon. Why am I getting out of my car on somebody else's property that I'm not supposed to be on, and they have a weapon? Make that make sense. So I'm trying to understand, exactly what's happening here. But it doesn't seem like 2 plus 2 equals 4. Things are not adding up here. I can tell you that as a civilian, if I go on someone's property and I don't want to leave, whatever escalation of force happens during that time I'm refusing to leave, it could result in someone using lethal force. It could. So I'm trying to understand this whole scenario. This is how I would have handled this if I had been driving, because again, I've done that myself, and I ventured onto someone's property. Even if the police was in the back of me, they come out with a gun and they said, "You need to leave." I'm putting that thing in reverse and I'm out of there. You don't have to tell me twice. I'm out of there. That's the type of and if I have my significant other in the car or my kids, that's protection of my significant other and my kids leaving. So this story is very perplexing to me because I've been in that situation many times before. I think what should have happened is the driver of the vehicle should have paused, thought about the situation, thought about a lot of things. My life or a ticket, my life or the car getting impounded. Think about that. They should have just left. So these stories are very disturbing to me. because they never should have happened. These are the stories where, if you just taking a second to think about the possible outcome, people would still be alive. So look at that. Look at these scenarios and look at this as an opportunity, as you go about your daily life, to think about how situations can go, and they can go left or right within a split second. So take a split second to apply a bit of thought, logical thought, logical thought, not aggressive thought, not I'm going to overpower this person and I'm going to win. Sometimes it's okay to just back out. You may feel that you've lost. It's okay. You live another day. With that being said, I think I've gone a really long with this show, but there's a lot of information that I want to put out. Thank you for listening to my random riff. Sorry, Victoria wasn't able to chime in. It's a new setup, but it's okay. I think I did enough for tonight. So we're going to close out this part 2 segment of the reading the global terrain, and we will move forward with a new subject matter on my next show. With that being said, have a great night, everybody, and please stay safe.